Hello soulmate, you're welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is the first time of seeing my channel, thank you for stopping by, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for watching. So in this tutorial, I'm going to be learning how to make this pencil skirt with hip and butt contour. If this one is something you're interested in, please join me while we get started. Okay, so guys, I'll be using this crepe fabric. It's 1 yard of crepe fabric and a zipper. My skirt is going to be having a zip and a slit at the back, but for this picture it doesn't have a slit at the back, it doesn't have a zipper because the material is a stretchy material. So if you're using a stretchy material, you don't have to use a zipper, but if you're not using a stretchy material, you will need to put a zipper at the side or at the back and a slit. So now on our pattern paper, I'm going to go ahead and draw a straight line at the top, which is going to be my waistline. Then I'm going to mark my point for my hip line, and from that point I'm going to come down by 1.5 and mark another line. Then I'm going to come and mark my knee measurement, which is 24, from the waist to the knee 24, and I'm using a full length of 32 because I want the skirt to be a bit longer. So for the hip, I'm using 8.5 inches, and then adding 1.5 inches after it is becoming 10 inches from the waist. I'm going to go ahead and draw straight lines and then label them, indicating the waist, the hip, the knee, and the full length. So then I'm going to come up to the waistline and I'm going to take the waist measurement. My waist measurement is 26. 26 divided by 4 is giving me 6.5. I'm going to mark that and add 1 inch for seam allowance. Now if you're going to be using a dart for this skirt, I'm not using a dart for the front. If you're using a dart for the front, you're also going to add 1 inch for dart allowance. Okay, so for you to take your dart, in case you're using a dart, you're going to mark your nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. Mine is 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. I'm going to mark it there and I'm going to come down by 3 inches. Okay, so from that 3.5 inches I marked, I'm going to take 0.5 inch on both sides and connect them together like this. But I'm not going to be using a dart, so I'm not going to be using this. I'm just marking my waist measurement divided by 4, adding 1 inch to it. So for the hip measurement, I'm going to take my hip measurement divided by 4, and then I'm going to subtract 1 inch. This is because I'm going to be taking some part of my hip measurement from the front and putting it at the back to accommodate the back very well. That is the butt contouring and the hip contouring that we're talking about here. So I'm going to be adding that 1 inch at the back and I'm going to be subtracting it from the front. So my hip measurement is 36 divided by 4 is 9. I subtracted 1 inch and then I added 1 inch for seam allowance, then connected it to the waist. Then coming to the knee measurement, I am going to take the knee measurement. My knee measurement is 32 divided by 4 is 8, and I'm going to subtract 1 inch from it. This is because it's a pencil skirt and I want it to be a little bit tightened at the hip, at the knee area, to give it that pencil shape. So I'm going to subtract 1 inch from it and then I'm going to add 1 inch for the seam allowance. So I'm going to take the same measurement I have from the knee area and I'm going to put it in the full length area and then connect it with a straight line like this. After that, I'll label it the front pattern. Okay, so from the center front, I came down by 0.5 inch and I connected it to meet the side. Okay, this is to help give it a balance at that point because the waist is not actually straight. Now I came down by 2 inches and I connected it with a straight line because I'm going to be using this for my band. Okay, so if you're using a dart, you go ahead and close the dart before drawing the line to ensure that they align properly, but I'm not using a dart, so I do not mind. So after this, I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out. Okay, so I'm going to open the paper that was on fold and transfer what I have on the other side to this side. Then I'm going to use my marker to make the band area visible because we're going to be cutting it off. Now after that, I'm going to come from the side of one side, then I'm going to mark 1.5 inch, and then from the place where I have my dart, I'm going to come down by 2 inches. Then I'm connecting this with a straight line. From that 2 inches point above, I came in by 1 inch and connected it with a slant line like this. Then use my marker to make it visible. After doing that, I came from the side front again and marked 1.5 inches at that point. Then I went to that place where I marked 2 inches and extended the line, using it as a guide. Coming in by 1 inch, I measured 2 inches below from that 1 inch again. Then I used my pencil to trace it. Then I connected it to meet the 1.5 inch I marked at the side. From the top of that place, I marked 1 inch inside and connected with a slant line again. Then used my marker to make it visible. I went ahead to repeat the same process for the other side by coming down by 1.5 inches from the side again, and from the other side by 2 inches. Then coming in by 1 inches from that side, I connected it with a slant line rather to meet the point, and then use my marker to make this visible again. This is to give us the design that is on the skirt. So after doing this, I am done creating the design. I just went ahead to put circles to indicate where the buttons are going to be. Okay, so I'll move on to the back pattern now. After drawing 2 inches line straight down, which I'll be using for my zipper allowance, from that line I marked my waistline, hip line, knee line, and the full length. Okay, so after doing this, I started from that zipper allowance line where I marked 2 inches, and I marked 0.5 inches from there. So from that 0.5 inches, I'm going to be marking my body measurements, which is my waist measurement 6.5, adding 1 inch allowance and 1 inch for that. So for my back pattern, I'll be adding a dart for that area. Then I marked my hip measurement divided by 4, adding 1 inch allowance as well for the top, the upper hip and the lower hip. Then I connected them like this. So now I went ahead to mark my nipple to nipple measurement. From that 0.5 I came in from the zipper line, then I marked 5 inches below from that point, then use a straight line to connect it. Taking 0.5 inches on both sides, I connected them together like this, indicating my dart. So now I've connected the waist and the hip. Then for the hip area, I'm going to come in from the zipper area and add that 1 inch I took away from the front pattern. I added it to that area. After doing that, I'm going to connect it to meet that 0.5 inches I came in from the waist area. I connected it like this. Now for the butt allocation, from the waist to the where the butt allocation ends is 14 inches for me, and then I added 1 inches below for it to lap properly. Then I'm connecting it like this. Then I came in by 0.5 inches from the knee line where the zipper line is. Then I connected them to meet each other like this. This is me using my marker to make them visible for you to see properly. So after doing the after marking them to make them very visible, I'm going to also take the measurement of 0, that is the 0.5 inches I took away from the knee. I'm going to connect it down to the full length as well. So after that, I'm done fixing the 1 inch I took away from the front and adding it to the back. Then I'll put the body measurement, which is the knee measurement divided by 4, subtracting 1 inch like I did for the front, and adding the seam allowance, measuring the same thing for the knee. For the full length, I connected them together like this. So after this, I'm just making sure that I have exactly 1 inch for the butt allocation area. So now at this point, I'm going to mark 1 inch all around that area for the zipper, because I'm using 1 inch for my zipper allowance. Down from the full length to the waist, I'm just going to follow that curve like that, marking 1 inch all around. Then after marking it, I'm going to use my marker to trace it well. You can actually use your curve to get it straight, or you use your free hand, whichever one works for you is fine. So after tracing it out like that, I'm just going to label it zipper allowance, so I'm going to be aware when I'm cutting it. So after that, I'm actually done with the back pattern. I'll just label it and cut it out. So if you have any question, please ensure to leave it in the comment section. Okay, so remember we have a band at the top area. So from that top area, I'm going to come down by 2 inches and I'm going to connect it together. So before connecting it, I'm going to close my dart, and then after closing the dart, I'm going to connect it together so that I can actually make the lines align properly. Okay, so after that, what I'll be having for the dart area should be about 3 inches. That is after taking off the band area. So I'm just going to tape it properly because I want to cut the band out. So after doing that, I'm going to cut it out. So at this point, if you find this tutorial very helpful, please ensure to give us a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you. Okay, so I've gone ahead to label them, and then I'm going to go back to the front piece so that I can cut it out. So I'm going to make sure I cut out the band carefully, and after cutting it out, I'm going to take it to my fabric and cut it on my fabric. Okay, so when cutting it on my fabric, I left half an inch for the top for both the front and the back, and left 2 inches for the hem area. So on the band, I went ahead to cut it out on the fabric leaving half an inch for the top and the bottom. But for the sides, I didn't leave any allowance because I already added 1 inch allowance for the seam allowance and then also for the zipper allowance, which is for the back. So after doing that, I went ahead to notch the area for the hip and the knee so that when I'm joining this, it can be very easy for me to join. So I did the same thing for the front and the back, notching the areas where I have the hip and the knee, and then I also notch the part where I have the dart for the back so that I can be able to fix the darts with ease. So after cutting them out on the fabric, I took out the front piece and then I went ahead to cut out this design which I already created here on the pattern, cutting them out separately so that I can cut them on my fabric. So I went ahead to place them on the fabric, cutting 2 pieces each for each of them and adding about half an inch allowance all round both the sides and the front. So I went ahead to cut it out on the fabric and this is what I have here. So now I'm going to take it to my machine and then I'm going to start sewing. So I'll start with the back pattern where I'm going to go ahead and fix the darts. So I'm going to go ahead and fix the dart for both of them. I've gone ahead to fix my dart for the back pattern, and then for the band area I stitch the top part of the band both from the front and the back. I only stitch one side, which is the upper part of the band, with half an inch. Okay, so then after opening it, this is what it looks like. I'm going to take it to my iron and I'm going to give it a good press for it to stay properly, to stay flat. So I did that for the front and the back. The back was cut into 4 pieces and I stitch only the top area like I did for the front. So I'm going to go and give it a good press. So now for the other designs, I stitch these 3 sides like this, leaving the upper part open. I did not stitch the upper part, so I went ahead to use half an inch to stitch them, and when I did that, this is what it looks like. So I'm trying to turn it and I realized I did not notch it, so I'm going to trim out the excesses. I'm going to use my scissors to trim out the excesses and I'm going to notch it properly so that I can turn it easily and it can be flat. So after doing that, I'm going to take it to my iron and give it a very good press. Okay guys, so when I'm done with that, this is what I have. I've gone ahead to iron it out and now it is laying flat properly well. So after that, I'm just going to remove the paper, arrange them properly like this, and then for the band, this is how I ironed it because I want to make it very easy for me to stitch. So I ironed it in this form. You can actually do this as well to help make it easy for you. So now I'm going to arrange them properly because I want to place them on the fabric and stitch them together. So I'm going to make sure that I'm leaving spaces in between them like about 1.5 inches. Okay, I ended up using about 1.75, that is 1.75 inches instead of 1.5 inches, to give them a little bit of spacing so that it can actually look good and not just look so small on the skirt. Okay, so to go about the sewing, I brought out the band for the front part like this, and then I brought the front pattern as well, placing it below the band and then arranging the designs like this. So I just secured them with a pin so that I can place them properly on the skirt, that is on the front pattern, and easily fix them so that when sewing it becomes easy for me. So I just went ahead to fix them like this. So before you fix them, ensure you place them properly before fixing. So after placing it on the front pattern, I also went ahead to open the band, place it properly the way I want it to be, and then close it with the band just like I did. So I'm just going to stitch at that end area of the band, stitch it like that, and then secure it properly. So I'll take it to my sewing machine and I'll do that. So at this point, I'm done stitching it together and this is what I have. Okay, it's now properly stitched. So I also went ahead to fix the band for the back as well. Now I'm going to take the back pieces, right side facing each other. I'm going to arrange them properly from the hem area to the waist area, ensuring they sit properly on each other, and then I'm going to go ahead and use my pin to secure them properly. So for the zipper area, I'm going to be using 9 inches. So I'm just going to measure 9 inches from the waist, and I'm going to mark that area. And then for the slit, I'm going to be working with 14 inches, actually working with 12 inches because the skirt is a bit longer than the usual short skirt. And I'm adding 2 inches because I have not closed the hem, so that's making it 14 inches. And I'm just going to take 1 inches all around from the part where I marked for the zip to the part where I mark for the slit. So I'm going to connect them with 1 inch like this and take them to my machine and stitch around there. Then after doing that, I'll fix my slit and fix my zip. Then I'll go ahead and hem the material. So after doing that, this is what I have. I've gone ahead to put the zip, put the slits. I've gone ahead to hem it. So I'm just going to go ahead and join them together, back and front, right side facing right side. So this is what I'm doing after stitching it with 1 inch allowance. Remember, the back is bigger than the front, so you don't have to be surprised if the back is having more fabric than the front. So now I'm going to go ahead and fix the button. I didn't use the regular button that was used in the picture. I used the cover button for this. So now after I'm done, this is what I have. So if you find this tutorial very helpful, please ensure to like, comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. See you guys in my next video.